2524, take a domestic 2500 on Newland.
10-4.
Scenarios like this play out in jurisdictions all across America on a daily basis. In the vast majority of cases, police officers take steps to protect themselves, the residents nearby, and the dogs they encounter. But increasingly, police are under close scrutiny as news media reports portray instances in which police officers shoot and kill dogs they encounter on calls. Hello. I'm Terry Hillard, retired superintendent of the Chicago Police Department and co-founder of Hillard Hanks Security. During my tenure, nothing was more important to me than the safety of the men and women who protect the streets of Chicago. I've also seen firsthand the vital role dogs play in a safe, humane community. This video series is not intended to second guess an officer's response nor to put any officer in harm's way. Rather, our goal here is to give officers tangible, tactical options in their encounters with dogs. The goal is to work together to help keep our communities safe and humane.
We know what the mission is. We know what we're supposed to do in a use of force model. And then we add the dynamic of dogs.
Dogs don't lie, all right? They'll tell you what they're thinking. You give them an out, they'll take it. They don't want to fight with you on the whole.
Everybody who enforces the law comes in contact with people's pets. And so it's incredibly bad press to be shooting Daisy.
A 62-year-old grandmother is mad and grieving after police shot and killed her 13-year-old dog, Wrinkles.
You can see all the bullet holes, about 8 bullet holes, all up and down the steps with bullets everywhere.
I mean, we are seeing punitive damages awards of $15,000, $20,000, $50,000 that are paid by you.
In this video, we'll examine ways police officers can effectively assess the environment. We'll look at how to assess the risk from a police and public safety perspective. And we'll look at how a dog's body language can provide visual cues and how an officer's approach can affect a dog's behavior. In our scenario, the officers approaching the house are presented a series of clues: a sign on the gate, a water bowl on the porch, an outside lead, and worn paths.
Looks like there could be a dog out here.
The obvious thing that you're going to want to do is make sure in your series of questions that you're trying to get answered, whether en route to the call or immediately upon arrival, is there a dog on the scene?
If an officer determines that a dog is present, and if there is sufficient time, animal control should be called to handle the dog. If that's not an option, the officer should take several steps to minimize risk.
Make some noise with the gate. Just rattle, hey, how you doing? Give some warning. One, you want to do it for both of you, because the dog now knows somebody's coming into the property.
Hi, girl.
The other aspect is, okay, now if there is a dog, what other options do we have for containment of the dog?
Hello, sir. I need you to contain your dog. Can you please bring him inside?
So you start looking to say, maybe a bathroom is a great location to say, well, we'll just put that dog in the bathroom. That can mitigate this particular problem so we can go on to the other problem and deal with it.
Dog training expert and renowned canine author Brian Kilcommons has published 9 books. He's worked with more than 40,000 dogs.
Basically, dogs tell us what they are thinking through their body language. If you know how to look for that and how to communicate with them, you can neutralize or keep you and the dog safe at any given time.
Whether it's answering a domestic call, serving a warrant, or even just coming across a dog on the loose, creating time to interpret a dog's behavior is good practice.
I think the one issue that is evident in all these encounters that has to be continually reassessed is the time of it. How much time is involved? And when there are encounters with dogs, there isn't a clock that we have to be done with this call in a matter of minutes. And that's actually what kind of puts us into a corner. When we have to make a split decision, then we have got limited options. When we realize that we have a little more time to deal with this, then we have more options.
In order to assist in reading canine clues, we developed an exercise in which a variety of dogs are secured to a tree or fence. Police officer participants are asked to simply approach the dog. In this example, the officers walk directly toward a tethered dog. The officers make direct eye contact and move to pat the dog's head.
If somebody comes up to you really fast and into your space and you don't know them, there's a certain reaction you have. And usually it's fight or flight. Either you push them out of your space or you back up to get more space. Dogs do the same thing, but there's a height differential. So it's accentuated with dogs if you're coming in towards them.
Armed with some basic information, other officers try a slightly different approach, this time to a dog who's agitated. The officers adopt a turned or bladed approach with a soft arc instead of a direct, straight-on path toward the dog. They use a calm, reassuring voice.
That's a good boy. That's a good boy.
Smiling always helps. All right? Talking to the dog in a nice voice. Don't reach for it and wait to see some of those signs where the tail drops and it's wagging. The face softens. All right? The dog looks at you and goes, okay, this is cool. And that happens within seconds.
The officers are going to conduct themselves in the way that they were trained. Straight on to the target, be very commanding, your physical presence, the way you use your voice. But what we've learned in this video is that when dealing with an animal, sometimes the reverse is the best.
We're not turning police officers into dog trainers. We're not convincing a police officer, go make friends with Fluffy. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about them going into a situation, knowing if a dog is there, if it is there, how to communicate with that dog, reduce the potential of an aggressive situation happening.
Any officer, in any circumstance, when you start giving them a good tool, they'll all kind of do that nod of, yep, that makes sense. I'd like to keep that, put it in my bag of tricks, because they know eventually you're going to walk into another situation and deal with that.
In this video, we examined several aspects of police encounters with dogs. To recap, anticipate. On any call, it's important to determine whether a dog is present. Contain. If a dog is present, contain or have the dog contained. If possible, request assistance from animal control, your animal response unit, or, if your department permits, a partner humane society. Assess a dog's body language for signs of the dog's disposition. And communicate non-threatening body language yourself, blading your body, no direct eye contact, and using a calm voice.
We've given you some clues to look for, things that will help you diffuse an encounter with a dog before it escalates. As police officers, we work hard to keep the peace and protect our communities from crime and violence. How you handle your encounters with dogs is an important part of creating safe, humane communities. Thanks for watching, and please, stay safe.
Angle a little bit. There you go. Nice.
Police officers spending time in training with the dog expert and a variety of dogs. In just one session, the officers develop a keen sense of how to read a dog and a new understanding of how their own body language has a significant impact on the dog's behavior.
You know, one of the reasons people love dogs so much is they don't lie. What you see is what you get. If they are frightened, their ears are back, their body's small, their tail is tucked, you can tell. Same thing if they're going to be aggressive. They're going forward in body tension and movement, direct hard eye contact, forward ears. You can pick that energy up. But what they're telling you is true. And they're telling you, I'm uncomfortable, I'm defending my territory. That means you need to give them a message back. And that's what this video is about, is teaching them how to communicate to a dog, reading what the dog is telling them, and then being able to communicate back to neutralize the situation. See his mouth is open? Okay. Take a step slightly forward, watch what happens with the mouth. There you go. Okay, ignore him, relax, mouth open. Beautiful.
Training police officers to read a dog's body language is not common. Cost and time pressures make it difficult for many agencies to take large numbers of officers off the street for small group training. But in this segment, we'll show you what these officers experience and the lessons they learned. Hello, I'm Terry Hillard, retired superintendent of the Chicago Police Department and co-founder of Hillard Hank Security. The goal of these lessons of this series is to give officers tangible, tactical options in their encounters with dogs.
Deep breath through the nose. Go get him. You know, we had 4 police officers, 2 SWAT team officers, and 2 on the street guys. All 4 unanimously looked at this and said, yes, we can use this. This makes sense, and jumped into it.
Hey, puppy. Hey. Hey, boy. Whoa, that's a good boy. Come on, puppy. That'll get your blood flowing.
When he starts showing those teeth, that's a reaction. So you move from this to this. You can talk to him nice and relaxed, but your goal is after he closes his mouth and snarls at you, is for you to be able to have that open mouth.
Okay.
Okay? So do you understand the little dance that you're doing here? Mm-hmm. If you walk in, do not look at them directly in the eye. Turn a little bit sideways so you're not square on, where that's much more intimidating. All right, you went from this to kind of this. I need this. Yep. There. You see his mouth open? And he's like, okay, cool. 2 guys are standing here, not a threat. Okay? Start moving in again a little bit. Hold. What didn't happen?
No teeth, no tension.
What about his mouth? Is that nice and open? Yeah. Okay? So that mouth didn't close. He wasn't going, okay, what's going to go on here? All right? Really well done, which means you're spot on with your body language.
Upon approach, when you approach a dog, a lot of times the traditional things police officers might do is to snap fingers, clap hands, things of that nature, are really not the things to be doing. You should approach like you would approach a person, you know, calmly, you know, using your voice.
Let's take this where the dog is relaxed. We have basically a standoff. He's like, I'm not thinking dirty thoughts, you're not thinking dirty thoughts. Turn full and take a step and see what happens. Turn full at him, take a step. Oh, nice call. Very nice, guys.
Also learned you can pick up on the dog's visual cues. He kind of gives you a hint whether or not you should close the space between the dog and yourself or hold your ground.
The goal is to get the dog where it stays relaxed. So I'd like you to arc a little bit more.
Hey, puppy. Hey, puppy.
Good. Okay, what you can do here. So I'm standing here with him. He's starting to snarl. I still want to get a little bit closer. Hey, guy. How are you, bud? Hi. What a good boy. Good. Good.
Approach your dog cautiously, but walk naturally, you know, maybe use a calm voice, and don't, like I said, don't go directly at the dog. You want to kind of go in a soft arc.
So it's important for you to be relaxed, to breathe, and to engage the dog in a friendly manner so the dog can be relaxed. And that way it could trust you, and then it could be more approachable.
Kind of opposite of what humans are. Sometimes a fighter for a human would blade itself and get in a fighting posture. That actually is opposite with dogs. So if you have a full frontal view, a dog looking at you, they may perceive that as more aggressive. And then when you blade towards a dog, they see that as less threatening.
And as soon as the dog picks up on those visual cues, the thing that surprised me is how quickly they de-escalate their temperament. They calm down. It's like throwing a light switch. They go from very up high and aggressive to very passive and disengaged almost.
I think the great thing, which you saw immediately, was how quickly the officers responded to the facts that they were being presented. So that really reinforces that there's a real genuine need, that there's some assumptions that are made about the right way to approach a dog. And then when you give them some other tools, the officers themselves will be going, oh, wow, this works, And so that's what they're always looking for. They're looking for tools that work.
We worked with a variety of dogs today, and a lot of the dogs that we saw would be considered pit bulls. Do you think that the pit bull type of dog is considered more dangerous than others?
I think that's perception, yes. And then taking a look at the dogs we work with today, the friendliest dog was the dog that appeared most like a pit bull. Looked strong, aggressive, and yet it was the friendliest dog that we dealt with today. And the dog that was probably the most aggressive was nothing like a pit bull, just a traditional family pet. Upon first sight, they'd be your first impression.
Just like people, you never know what you're going to be walking into, and every dog that you deal with is going to be different, so you can't make any assumptions based on the breed. You just have to look at the observations of the dog and go from there.
Try to treat every dog in the same manner, and then react to the actions that you get from the dog, and his behavior will determine your actions, and regardless of the breed.
Can people learn from this video? Can a police officer look at this video and then walk away with a different aspect, attitude, and set of tools? Absolutely.
The biggest takeaway for me was the fact of how quickly the officers, similar to the dogs, could be trained to react differently. I mean, so that was really, and they all alluded to it. They said, well, if I do this, the dog does that. So the 4 officers really in a quick amount of time could pick up on those different cues, and then they could respond in how they were approaching the situation. So that told me that, okay, I'm not saying we have all the answers, but I'm saying we're going in the right direction, and that was very rewarding.
In this video, we examined several aspects of police encounters with dogs. To recap, assess a dog's body language. Dogs will usually communicate intention through their body language. And communicate by adopting non-threatening body language, blading your body. Use indirect eye contact, and use a calm voice.
Again, the goal is not to make every police officer an animal expert. The goal is to give you information that will help you make distinctions, to provide you with options, to give you strategies that will make you safer and more effective in your encounters with dogs. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.
I've got info that drugs and guns are being stashed inside this vacant building. Owner hasn't returned any of my calls. Today we're going in.
Okay, let's do it.
Police! Police! Anybody in there? Officer! Anybody in there? Anybody in there? Dog, sit! Dogs.
I'm Terry Hillard, retired superintendent of the Chicago Police Department and co-founder of Hillard Heinz Security. This video is designed to raise awareness and provide direction. Our goal here is to give you, the officer, tangible, tactical options in your encounters with dogs. The goal is to work together to keep our communities safe and humane.
In this video, we'll show you how to get an instant read on a dog's disposition and intent. We'll look at tactically sound, safe options to keep a dog encounter from escalating. And we'll look at how your tactical approach can impact a dog's behavior. In our exercise with tethered dogs, we had 4 officers, 1 dog trainer, and more than a dozen different dogs. A critical lesson emerged. Dogs provide important information about their disposition through their body language.
By looking at the dog, I would look at its actions for the eye contact, what kind of, if its tail is up, down, or he will give me all the signals that I need in order to act upon in doing my job.
You're a police officer. There's other stuff going on. I don't want you to be an expert. I want you to look at the dog as a package and then parts of that package to decide where the dog's head is at. And the way you do that is through teeth. It's one of the reasons we came up with the acronym TEETH, is because you got a short amount of time to evaluate the dog. 1, tension. Tension with dogs either goes forward, aggression, backwards, fear. Upwards, aggression, downward, submission. Ears. If the ears are forward, right, it usually shows interest. If there's a certain tension and focus, that means it's thinking differently. And if the energy is moving forward, that may be a sign of aggression. All right? If the ears are flat back, it's like, I'm getting smaller, please stop aggression. Eyes. For us, eye contact is communication. You meet somebody and you talk to them, they're doing this stuff, you're going, ugh, I don't like them. With dogs, they don't want the eye contact. If the dog is giving you a hard, intent eye, along with a forward motion, that tension, now you're talking about the dog moving to thinking of aggression. Then we have the tail. So if the tail is either horizontal or hanging down low and wagging, that's usually friendly. When you have a stiff tail, all right, and it's going quickly, in small, rapid movements, it is usually a sign of aggression. So tension, eyes, ears, tail, head. And the reason for the head is you'll see a slight furrowing in the brow, a closed, clenched jaw, an intense look. All right, that's again a dog that is getting set for some type of action. What you basically want to see is a dog that has an open mouth. Once the mouth is open, things are cool. And the more you look at this, go to a dog park. Go watch the dogs, how they communicate with each other. That you'll see that and go, oh, I never realized that. And you'll see how they communicate, because dogs don't change their communication because we're human. We need to change our communication to fit the dogs and understand what they're saying.
In our scenario, let's replay the officer's arrival. This time, they anticipate how an encounter with a dog might be a factor in their search of this abandoned house.
I asked my informant if they keep dogs inside. He said most days they do.
Based on good information from an informant, the officers call Animal Control, waiting to enter the house. Animal Control takes care of the dog. Police concentrate on the drugs and weapons found on site. Rule number 1. If you have Animal Control or an animal service agency, engage their help.
Police officer! Anybody in here?
If Animal Control is not a viable option, or if a dog takes you by surprise, look for barriers like a door to create distance. While dog behavior is complex, Two simple strategies will keep officers safe in many encounters with dogs. The first, the use of food.
To take some treats and just throw it in the yard, all right? One, it takes the focus off of you. The dog goes to the treats. Two, it sets a tone where the dog goes, this guy's pretty cool. I'm not sure about him being here. But it reduces the whole situation. It's one of the easiest ways to win a dog over, so you don't run into a problem. If it's a multi-dog situation, do not use treats. If a fight develops, you don't want to be part of that.
Two additional cautions. Throwing overhand may be intimidating to some dogs, and hand feeding is not advised. The idea is to be cautious, de-escalate, and create distance. The second key strategy involves an officer's body language, adopting a less threatening posture by turning or blading the body, looking around the dog but not locking eyes on the dog, and keeping hands relaxed and close to the body. Consider your tactical options. Always look for protection and barriers, things that can create space between you and a dog. Most importantly, the officer should never run. Generally, a person cannot outrun a dog. Many dogs respond to people running or moving quickly by chasing or even biting. You never know when a dog might appear. In the course of any call, your powers of observation and your use of tactical options are tested when you are approached by a running or barking dog.
Do you think a lot of police officers assume that the dog is going to bite them?
Sure.
Yeah.
By the nature of our job, we tend to have an aggressive posture. And the same thing with dogs. You assume the worst, or the dog is going to be aggressive in nature towards you, and you may, in that state of adrenaline excitement, overlook the visual cues the dog's giving you to stay back or hold your ground or close the distance.
They're going to put on an act. Most of them are pretty much scared to death. That's why they're acting that way.
Read the dog, all right? Respect its space, understand what your body language says to the dog, and then adjust to that situation. And most of the times the dogs go, okay.
If we use our tools correctly, then we can mitigate it. It's not always true, but I think it goes to the heart of looking at the totality of the situation and understanding all the options that we have.
In this video, we examined several aspects of police encounters with dogs. To recap, anticipate. On any call, it's important to determine whether a dog is present. If possible, request assistance from Animal Control, your animal response unit, or a partner humane society. Assess a dog's body language for signs of the dog's disposition. Remember the acronym TEETH as a quick way to gauge dog behavior. Communicate using body language that's non-threatening, blading your body, no direct eye contact, using a calm voice, even smiling. And redirect. Use food or toss an object to redirect a dog, creating distance. Decide whether to hold ground, add distance, or close distance.
We've given you some strategies to consider, how to plan ahead, what tactical steps to take, and how to defuse an encounter with a dog before it escalates. As police officers, you work hard to keep the peace and protect your communities from crime and violence. How you handle your encounters with a dog is an important part of creating safe, humane communities. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.
Like I said, we're gonna go right in.
A warrant served.
Search warrant! Go, 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 go!
A dog encountered. An assist from animal control. And the successful seizure of drugs, money, and a suspect arrested and charged.
This is an example of the effective use of legal and tactical tools to keep the peace, protect lives, and keep our communities safe and humane. Hello, I'm Terry Hillard, retired superintendent of the Chicago Police Department and co-founder of Hillard Heights Security. We all know it is important that police officers and departments hold themselves accountable when it comes to how and when force is used to keep the peace. That applies not only to the people they serve, it applies to dogs. When it comes to the use of force, it takes ongoing training and a dedication from all to ensure that force is an appropriate tool of protection.
You need to be aware that when you go through the door, it is a very upsetting thing to the entire family, including the pets. And the way jurors perceive it is that the dog is literally doing his or her job. And so you need to be mindful of alternatives before you actually fire at the animal.
A quick scan online reveals the scope of this issue. It's no secret nearly everyone has a camera, and nearly every action a police officer takes can be captured on video. This video shows police in Colorado trying to coax a dog from a garage. Just as the dog is detained on a catch pole, an officer opens fire, shooting and killing the dog. The officer now faces criminal charges. The police union has decried the charges as a media sensationalized event. This is just one of the hundreds of high-profile cases generating significant media exposure. In this video, we'll examine how to keep yourself safe while utilizing a use of force concept in any encounters with dogs. And we'll show you tactics and objects that can become protection options on any call.
And I think any encounter, I don't care what it is, dealing with the aspects of fear, because if I'm making decisions based on fear, I probably may not be making the right decisions. I'm not trying to say that when your spidey senses are going off, don't pay attention to them. But the best decisions we make are informed decisions based on training and experience and not reacting to fear.
It's basic police instinct that is especially relevant in confined situations involving an aggressive dog. Give yourself an out.
I think in every environment that the officer is continuously looking for options for himself, for protection, and for barriers between themselves and the dog.
Many dogs are distracted by food or even a stick. Carrying food is an effective, proven option. A handful of food tossed to the dog can allow an opportunity to create distance. It's also helpful to put an object, such as a chair or garbage can, between the officer and the dog.
We're not taking away the tools that the officers have if they have to use a deadly force measure and they have to make a decision in a split second. That is which is a hallmark of the responsibility that comes with this job. On the other hand, what we are saying to look at some additional options, some additional tools, reassessing the environment, reassessing the time, the timeliness that you have to make that decision. Therefore, I think the officers will be appreciative of getting those tools and getting that information.
There are items commonly available in police vehicles that can be used to stop a dog from biting. Even things like a road flare or clipboard can be used for blocking or redirecting. A fast-opening umbrella can often scare a dog and serve as a shield. A closed umbrella can be used as an object for the dog to bite on. An expandable baton or wood nightstick can be used for blocking or redirecting a dog attack, or used for the dog to bite.
If you hear the dog coming at you, dogs usually bite the first thing they can get a hold of. So whether it's a nightstick, a flashlight, if you think the dog is coming hard and fast, Get an object to give to the dog. That's what they're going to bite.
A fire extinguisher produces an expanding cloud, leaving a bad taste and a sound that frightens dogs. Many search warrant teams carry a fire extinguisher. A bullhorn, air horn, or any item that will produce a loud noise is often useful. In addition to everyday items, chemical repellents and disabling agents can be effective. Citronella spray is effective on dogs, but not people. Dogs are averse to both the taste and odor. OC, or pepper spray, is highly effective on dogs. In a study conducted with the Baltimore Police Department, dogs were sprayed with OC in 20 incidents where the animals posed a danger to officers. Officers sprayed dogs from a distance of 3 to 8 feet. OC was effective nearly 100% of the time, and no officers using OC were injured. Another option, an electrical disabling device.
I'm going to taste the dog.
In field reports of taser use on dogs, most officers report that the immobilization period was shorter, about 20 seconds. All dogs that were hit with darts and not immobilized fled the scene and did not attack. Note: to properly use the taser on a dog, it needs to be held sideways so that the probes spread horizontally in line with the body mass of the dog. And an officer firing a taser must be closer to a dog, preferably less than 10 feet. In this video, we examined several aspects of police encounters with dogs. To recap, use food or toss a stick to redirect or distract the dog. Decide whether to hold ground, add more distance, or close distance. Create barriers as needed. And plan ahead by having less than lethal options. A police officer almost always has defensive options that are effective, safe, and humane, easily deployable, defensible to the observing public, and involve no risk to the observing public.
This is lethal force. And the aspect is projectiles can go in a lot of different directions. And so depending on the environment that you're using lethal force, it could have lethal consequences. So not only for the intended target, in this case would be a dog, but for people, you know, in the surrounding areas behind the target. Your partners, because this is a dynamic situation, the other residents that could be there, children obviously, other animals. It could be other city agencies that could be supporting you at that time. So there's a lot of things to be taken into consideration.
Jurors see it as reasonableness. So shooting a dog, there needs to be reason for it. I don't want to call it the last resort because officer safety is paramount to me, frankly. But it can't be the first resort.
And I think that old saying, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So with the expansion of the same thing is we're trying to give the officers some additional tools. The most important weapon that the officer has is his mind.
Knowing how to size up a situation, knowing how to react appropriately, these are not just challenges. These represent the ultimate obligation of those who wear the badge of any police department. Your decisions on the use of force are some of the most important decisions you'll make. How you handle your encounters with dogs is an important part of creating safe, humane communities. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.
Police work, unpredictable, always changing, but one constant: dogs. On the streets you patrol, in the homes you enter, with the families you serve and protect, dogs are a part of the community fabric. And more, the community is watching and judging how police handle their encounters with dogs.
You're a good dog, yeah.
To have effective encounters with dogs, encounters that are safe and humane, it requires you to be strategic and tactically sound. Hello, I'm Terry Hillard, retired superintendent of the Chicago Police Department and co-founder of Hillard Hines Security. It also demands having an awareness of the law and the potential liability you and your department face. In this video, we examine some of the legal aspects of police encounters with dogs, their owners, and the community at large.
Now, this all started when Minneapolis police executed a search warrant on a North Side home 2 years ago. The lawsuit settlement is $225,000, and that's one of the largest settlements in Minneapolis involving the death of a family pet.
As lawsuits are filed and awards and damages mount, municipal legal staffs, police departments, and even officers themselves are forced to confront this issue.
I've defended the cops since '97. So from my perspective, you need to be safe. From a liability perspective, the question is reasonableness. Whether it's the Fourth Amendment or state law, the question is whether you were reasonably in fear of death or imminent serious bodily harm. I will defend it. I need you to document it as clearly as you can, and I need you to be honest. I can't do that without reports and photographs from the scene. The family will probably take its own photos, and so what I need is context. I need to be able to tell how far away the dog was from you when you made the decision to shoot. So I need some indication of where your shell casings are, for example, in relation to where the dog's body is. If, for example, the shell casings are at the front door and you told me the dog was charging you and the dog is all the way down the hallway past the living room and the bedrooms and things, then I have a harder time explaining the reasonableness of what you did. And then if there is a verdict against you, I do what I can to get rid of it, but ultimately I am prohibited by law, the city is prohibited by law, for paying punitive damages. So they have to come from you. And that is one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have, to turn to an officer and say, so, about your deferred comp, or what's in your checking account, and things like that. It is a real cost. Some officers got hit with punitive damages after they shot a dog. We feel legitimately, but then we're cavalier about it after the fact, in front of the family. So be mindful of what you say if you are required to shoot the dog.
A dog can be a window, providing police a glimpse inside a home or a view of a community. A safe, well-adjusted dog affords a positive view, while a dog that is distressed or has been neglected may provide a view to a problem and an opportunity to investigate.
If you see a problem, if you can address it with just speaking to someone or letting them know that you're concerned or that you care, and then if it happens again, then perhaps at that point you might want to take a more serious action, or perhaps, write up an owner's duty violation. But if you stop the small things, then I think that you prevent the larger things. If you see an animal with protruding hip bones, if you see an animal with an open wound, if you see an animal with stitching that they can't, easily explain, or stitching that looks like as if it was done by hand instead of a veterinarian, I think most police officers, their antenna goes up, and at that point they think, okay, let's maybe investigate a little bit further. Let's find out what's going on here. And now, as I explained to the police officers, there's doggy DNA. And it doesn't take much for someone to send that in and get a profile of all the breeds that are part of an animal and come back and say to the police officer, well, you have pit bull in your report, but it's everything but a pit bull. So what else could you have made a mistake about, officer? And the whole idea is you don't even have to open yourself up to that, because we're not veterinarians, we're not experts, or we aren't breeders, we're police officers and prosecutors. So describe the dog. Short, long, brown, black, gray, curly ears, flat tail, short hair, long hair, brown, white paws, brown spots. So describe the animal. That's the best way to document.
When reporting or testifying about a police encounter with a dog, photograph. Document the scene, including the dog, with photographs. Contextualize. Report observations about the function of the dog and the environment and relationships in which the dog lives. Describe, but avoid making judgments about dog breed unless you have proof. Let's review the key messages in this series. In a police encounter with dogs, anticipate. On any call, it's important to determine whether a dog is present. Contain. If a dog is present, contain or have the dog contained. Request assistance. If a dog cannot be contained, request assistance from Animal Control, your Animal Response Unit, or, if your department permits, a partner humane society. Assess. If other assistance is not an option, assess the dog's disposition. Remember the acronym TEETH, tension, ears, eyes, tail, head, as a quick way to gauge dog behavior. Communicate. Adjust your body to the situation. Be less threatening to a dog by turning your body, relaxing your stance. Use indirect eye contact and a calm voice. Use food or toss a stick to redirect or distract the dog. Decide whether to hold ground, add more distance, or close distance. Create barriers as needed. And finally, plan ahead by having less than lethal options. A fire extinguisher or air horn can be used to scare off a dog. Use your baton or asp if the dog tries to bite. A taser should be used sparingly.
I defend the police. My goal is that you guys get home safe in the same way that you went to work. But the question is whether what happened then was reasonable.
I don't think there's an officer out there that is going out during the day and going to work and looking at shooting a dog. And that's one of the tragedies of this whole situation.
It's a very, very difficult job. And what we're not trying to do is clutter this up to make it even more difficult. I think giving the officer more options, more tools, and videos like this to increase their awareness of the capabilities that they have and the limitations of some of the tools, I think they'll make more informed decisions.
It is our hope that this series is a start of ongoing conversations and continuous education. As police officers, you work hard to keep the peace and protect our communities from crime and violence. How you handle your encounters with dogs is an important part of creating safe, humane communities. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.